Hi guys, it's Angie with Fun Endeavors Tie-Dye Lab. Today let's ice dye a linen top. This is a shirt which I purchased from Costco and it is 55% linen and 45% viscose. It's also a Land's End brand. I purchased mine at my local Costco, but I noticed that they do have them online if you don't have a Costco in your area. I wanted to do a kind of organic design on this shirt. The description for this shirt is actually calling it a tunic shirt, so it's a little bit longer, and I thought a cool organic design would look really pretty on it. So I'm going to lay the shirt out flat, and then I want to kind of scrunch the shirt vertically. So I'm going to scrunch the top down toward the bottom and the bottom up toward the top. Then I'm going to add some vertical lines in the shirt with sinew. I want to use sinew because sinew has a wax coating, and so wherever I tie a really tight sinew line, it's going to form a waterproof barrier that's not going to allow the dye underneath that area. So I'm going to have some white lines remaining in the shirt, and that's going to add some definition to my design. So I'm going to wrap my sinew lines going vertically as well. I'm going to wrap a line of sinew around a couple of times. And the trick to making good sinew lines is to wrap the sinew on top of each other. So I'm going to wrap a couple lines of sinew right on top of each other. Then I'm going to pull really tightly, and that sinew will catch on itself and it'll lock down, forming that waterproof barrier. I don't want my lines to be perfect though, so I'm going to grab and kind of scrunch a little bit of fabric up underneath those lines before I wrap them. Like I said, I want the design to look more random and organic. And as far as this goes, you can put as few or as many lines in this shirt as you'd like to. Now that the shirt is tied, I'm going to go ahead and apply the dye while it's still damp. I'm going to use some dye spin colors for this one, and I've chosen some blues and a green shade. I want to dye this shirt up out of the muck, which, by the way, if you hear the term muck, that refers to the melting ice that's mixed with the dye. It's what runs through the shirt or the garment that you're dyeing. To keep the shirt up out of the muck, I've got a colander that has extendable arms. I'm placing that over the top of a plastic tub or tote, and I'm going to place the shirt down inside of the colander. I'm also going to use my respirator whenever I apply the dye to this shirt. Whenever I handle the powdered dye or powdered soda ash, I always wear my respirator. It's important to remember that you don't want to inhale any of this super fine dye. In fact, I actually wear my respirator whenever I deal with any of the powdered chemicals, or actually any of the chemicals in general. I really try to protect my lungs. Even though this shirt is still damp, I want to dampen right on those sinew lines just a little bit, because I'm going to start off by adding Nightfall from Dye Spin right across the sinew lines. I want to give a little bit of highlight to that area. So I started by spraying a little bit of a soda ash solution, which I've placed inside of a spray bottle, just on the sinew lines. Then I'm sprinkling Nightfall right on top of those sinew lines. Now I'm going to go ahead and add some ice over the top of this shirt. I've decided I'm going to place the other two colors over the top of the ice. I want them to be a little bit more watercolor and have a softer feel to them. Now I want to randomly sprinkle woodland and smoky blue over the top of the ice. After I have the dye over the top of the ice, I'm going to add an additional sprinkle of soda ash over the top, and then I'm going to place the shirt aside and allow the ice to melt. Whenever I do designs like this where I place the dye over the top of the ice, I really only like to add one layer of ice. If I come back and it looks like I just have way too much white left on my shirt, then I may go ahead and add a second layer of ice. But in general, with designs like this, I like to stick to only one layer of ice. So about 24 hours after the ice melted, I came back and I began to rinse the shirt in cold water to rinse out the soda ash. After rinsing in cold for a while, I went ahead and untied the shirt and warmed the water up to hot and continued rinsing in hot water to rinse out the excess dye that didn't bond with the fabric. So I get asked the question a lot, would it work if I use that muck, so the stuff that's down inside of the container that I just dumped out before I began rinsing, if I use that muck to dye a shirt? And the answer is yes and no. If you have another shirt tied up and you go ahead and put it down in the bottom of the container before you apply the dye to this shirt, and you allow the runoff to run directly into that shirt, yes, you can use that muck to dye another shirt. However, if right before I went ahead and started rinsing this shirt, if I took that muck, put it inside of a squirt bottle, and tried to dye another shirt with it, I'm not going to get great results. Yes, it will work some. I'm going to get some color out of it, and it may end up being a color that you love. But in general, it's not going to work spectacular because the minute that the dye mixes with the soda ash, it will start to react. And by that I mean your dye is going to start to try to bond with something, and over time it's going to degrade. So if I had, say, a really dark blue and my muck was really dark blue, if the muck's been sitting there for 24, 36, 48 hours and it's, got soda ash in it, my dark blue is no longer going to be dark blue. It's going to be lighter blue, and it'll continue to get lighter the longer it sits there. So I probably would get color out of my muck, but I'm not going to get, say, the color that the muck is. I won't get that really pretty dark blue. I hope that makes sense. I've tried it before and I did get color out of it, and I liked the color that it was, but it just ended up being a lot lighter. So just keep that in mind if you're wanting to somehow try to use your muck. It's probably going to be a lot lighter than you think it's going to be. That's also one of the reasons why it's not wise to go ahead and add your soda ash to your liquid dye, because if you don't use it immediately, it will start to fade pretty quickly. So after I've untied the shirt and I've rinsed a little bit more in hot water, instead of going ahead and rinsing for a long time, I'm going to soak the shirt by adding some really hot water to my utility sink, a little bit of Blue Dawn dish detergent, and just allowing the shirt to soak. When the water cools off, I'll change it out and I'll continue that soaking process until my water is remaining almost clear. Then I'll put the shirt along with some Dharma's professional textile detergent into my washing machine, and I'll wash it using a hot water cycle. Okay, so I've washed, dried, and ironed the shirt, and let's see what it looks like. Okay guys, so what do you think? I think this one turned out pretty cool. I really like this shirt. I think it dyed up really nicely. If you remember, it was 55% linen and 45% viscose, and both of those dye up really well. So I had high expectations and the shirt didn't disappoint. I also like doing the lines vertically. I think that is going to be very flattering to wear, and I think it's an interesting design. I really like it. Because I purposely tied the design kind of messy and pulled some of the fabric into certain areas when I was tying it, it doesn't have perfect vertical lines, but that's what I wanted. I wanted to make a more organic design, but I still wanted to have a little bit of definition in the shirt. I also really like the colors together. I think the woodland has some of that more yellow-green in it, along with some of that more teal type color. And then I really like that nightfall or the darker blue that I added right on the sinew lines. It gives just kind of a little pop of color up close to that line, and I think that's interesting. The smoky blue adds kind of that overall undertone of storminess to the shirt That's where those more gray undertones along with a little bit of purpley pink color, that's where that's coming from, is from the smoky blue. That's a little bit of an unexpected pop of color in the shirt, and I really like it. So overall, I really like this shirt. I think it turned out really pretty, and I think it's going to be flattering to wear. You know, the kind of V-neck, and then this shirt even has pockets. If you look closely, you can see the outline of where they've sewn around the pockets on the front of the shirt. In my local Costco, these come in a couple other colors, but I chose the white. They do have a pink color and a blue, and I think both of those would dye up nicely too. I think they're light enough that you could dye over them without having to use any out white bright to take out some of the color. So, like I said, overall I really think this shirt turned out pretty and I like it. But what do you guys think? Please drop me some comments down below and let me know. And if you've enjoyed watching the video, I sure would appreciate it if you would like it and if you'd subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you'll hit the bell, you'll receive a notification whenever I upload a new video. Thank you all for watching, and I hope you have a great day.